What's good, YouTube and Twitch? We're live to both right now, and you might be familiar with these videos just a little bit, but today's a top 15 as we look through the top 15 most impactful meta-defining cards from the extra deck. Weird, you can only play 15. Maybe that's the reason in an extra deck you can only play 15. That's the reason for 15 on this list. Let's go ahead and get into it, starting with ABC Dragon Buster, a card that really coined the term a top in a box. While it wasn't necessarily true, a lot of people were able to just add gold and silver gadgets and actually get regional tops with the ABC deck. Now, Dimensional Barrier, Pot of Desires at that time, by no means budget cards, but ABC was able to come in and with 3 structure decks along with some support really take over almost every single table at its first regionals that I watched. I actually live streamed the regional like that, and it was so hard to find non-ABC matchups during that regional. And there's a lot of different tech, and you end up with Elvis Vu actually using Magnet Reverse in his side deck for his W with it. But man, this deck, even up until this most recent ban list where A gets banned, was able to top regionals and premier events. In our number 14 position, Heavy Metal Foes Elektra Might is by far defining. You actually come in with Pendulum Magicians. Without this, where people thought, hey, Link's kind of killed Pendulums, didn't it? Haha. And a Pendulum deck ends up taking down one of the biggest UDSs. But introduce Elektra Might, and this is the reason why my boy Astrograph gets clapped and banned. Elektra Might offers so much power in one Link card along with amazing arrows to support generic Pendulum archetypes that I think it's going to still be defining at some point down the road should Pendulums continue to get help. But at the same time, I don't think there's been anything as terrifying as watching somebody just loop off into 3 Elektra Mites, go into other Link monsters, and then Pendulum summon out a board of like 4 to 5. It's just insane. But maybe even more defining than that, going back to the Synchro era, in the 13th slot is Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon defined plant format in my opinion. You have cards like Stardust Dragon. You have cards like Goyo Guardian taking Stardust Dragons and funny moments like that, but Black Rose comes down and nukes the entire board. And there's nothing really as impactful as that, along with in plant format its secondary effect, being able to banish a plant-type monster from the graveyard, target a defense position monster they control, put it in attack, and turn its attack to 0. Oh, so many duelists would be at 2,000 life points, they thought out all the scenarios. Black Rose came down, you're not activating its effect? What do you mean? Oh yeah, I'm gonna banish a plant-type monster later. So many times I would see that happen, and even today when I try to play it in a deck, I try to catch somebody off guard if they're not playing all Link monsters where I can't get them in defense. In the number 12 slot, we have Gladiator Beast Gyzaris coming into Teledad's ring and taking it down in LODT. Gyzaris brought Gladiator Beast to the next level with something that wasn't really coined as a term till it, contact fusion. Being able to not use polymerization, using 2 cards to go in, and advantages so important during this era, pop 2 cards and then tag back out into 2 cards that would also gain and net you even more advantage, sometimes going into Heraclinos, but by far I think Gyzaris is the more defining card that ends up, you know, with Chris Bowling being able to take down a Nationals. Ooh, such amazing moments in the past if you go back and look through. In our number 11 slot, we have Dark Strike Fighter, one of the other most defining synchros that we have access to. $50 to $60 for a super rare was insane back in the day, and even is still today. I think Luster Pendulum is one of the only others that has reached that height. But Dark Strike Fighter specifically struck terror because before its errata, you would see loops into burn to burn to burn for game just on turn 1. And you saw this actually coming into a National/WCQ format where they didn't hit it beforehand, and people really thought they might or would. It wasn't hit until after. So I want to say Dark Strike Fighter, just what a terrifying extra deck monster. But in our number 10 slot, something you might have had to play against a lot recently is Spiral Double Helix. No card has taken a singular archetype to the next level like this. Spiral's almost had it all together. So many people were excited for them. This is the card a lot of people hope for now with a TCG exclusive archetype. Hey, can we get a double Helix for our Sub-Terrors, for our UAs, for our Noble Knights? Double Helix realistically took all those resources and put them to use by accessing from the deck and putting them straight on board and being able to just seamlessly integrate with them. Link on up further, has the proper arrows to connect and continue your boards. I think this has the complete package, and I think it's like 26 or 29 tops out of an entire cut of a format. And people even started to go into playing this deck for going second instead of first, because your resources in your extra deck where you can just grab it at any time instead of focusing on, okay, I have to deal with this and this. No, I can just go into this as I need. But in our number 9 position, something that stole a format and had its own totally awesome. Our Tree Toad boy with its nice American text here managed to take down Fusion Sub Zoo's own format. The most powerful incarnation of Zoo did not win its own format, yet we still call it Fusion Sub Zoo format. Totally awesome. Stared that down and took that down, and also under Joshua Schmidt managed to continue to do very, very well. And we look at this card for its ability to not only bring out something from the deck, but then gain resources back and have negates. It does so much all for one card compared to any other that it'd be remiss not to have it up on this list. Totally awesome. We joked about its name, yet it was actually terrifying in practice. In our number 8 position, we have Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. I struggled whether to put Dante or Beatrice on this list. You have all sorts of cards that define formats like ABC Dragon Buster, yet Beatrice kind of goes hand in hand because Dante is named on this card, and you have to kind of go up through Dante. Yet when I walked down the rows at YCS Houston, when this card was at 3, there were so many tables headed into time with 3 Beatrice on one side of the field, 3 Beatrice on the other side of the field. It was insane. You even have Jesse Flores at that event with his Norlaris BA. There's so much this card did and enabled within its format as a light fairy that it's just awesome to think about. And even today, I feel like the deck strives to go towards Beatrice over most other cards. You're not trying to leave a Dante on board. You're trying to finish with the Beatrice, which allows you your reactional cards like Fairy Tale Snow or Farfa from deck. So I would definitely think Beatrice ends up being the more defining card from the Burning Abyss archetype. But in our number 7 position, we have Ignace Tor. People were talking to me saying Infinity should go for the Pepe kind of extra deck with Ptolemy and Infinity, but I feel like most people, when they had good hands, and Billy I think will back this up, when Cyber Infinity's on the board, you're typically able to play through it because all it offers is the one negate. And not a lot of people were playing Solemn Strike at those first events either. Ignace Tor, however, you have Face Off. It comes down from the extra deck. It's non-targeting destruction / spin. Oh, it's just so good. Ignace Tor, it's got the body, it's got the ability, and being a synchro monster through the Pendulum era was just so good for it as well. I can't think of something else. Oh, and also it offers advantage from the deck, so you can continue into either Dinosaur or Magister. It's just actually a really insane tool that also gave its own ability to not have to pop your skill and instead give something from deck to pop. This is damage incarnate. But in our number 6th position, we have El Shaddoll Construct, which finds herself also on the FNL list. You might have noticed a lot of these cards have either ended up on the FNL list at one point in time or are currently on. Well, Construct's forbidden currently in our TCG, and I think that's because she abuses lights so well as a total package. Being able to abuse the Clown engine originally is what just raised the roof on the Shaddoll deck, whereas Winda restricts and constricts, Construct actually builds up and goes through your entire deck and continues you on to be able to, okay, I'm going to put this on board, summon this, and continue on while offering a destructive power like not many other and a Catastor-like effect. I really think Construct has it all going for her. In our number 5 position from Dragon Ruler format, we have Draco Sack. I also struggled with this a little versus Big Eye, because I feel like Big Eye is really essential, but Draco Sack being able to withstand destruction and put those tokens out and be able to last the extra turns really did put an extra level into the Dragon Ruler format beyond any other card. Oh, for those real Mecha Fan of Beast players, the MPBs. But by far, Draco Sack getting abused as one of the boss monsters that ends up outside of its own deck and in another and abused time and time again. There's a reason it earned its price point in the Dragon Ruler format. In our number 4 position, we have Lavalval Chain. Oh, don't talk to me or my infirmities ever again. Forbidden, and I think for good. Even when you have cards similar to it, like Curious and Lightsworn, I think Lavalval Chain earns its spot over here on the list as you could put it in the game today and you find ways to end up abusing it, bust it, and then link away with it, despite having to use 2 level 4s to make it. It's just so crazy to actually look at this card. Oh, also, its ability to end up putting cards on top of the deck would end up allowing you to draw into your hand traps and guarantee that you had them in certain formats, such as in the Necros format, where you do use Lavalval Chain, and if you didn't need it to send Jin, you would put a hand trap on top, use Valkyrus, and draw your hand traps. So much utility and synergy in a singular card. In our number 3 format, we go all the way back to GOAT format. Metamorphosis, abusing those GOAT tokens for thousands. Strict was one of the biggest terrors. You had to have Tsukiyomi, Book of Moon, or a way to retaliate with this in the Spell and Trap, yet this card was just able to take all comers, all problems, and slurp them on up. Thousand Eye Strict by far terrorized me back as a kid in 2005, I want to say, more than any other card by far out of the extra deck back then. In our number 2 slot, we mentioned her earlier, Zodiac, Dryden. I think a lot of people argue for Broad Bull and his utility, but I think Dryden's pop really brought the deck all together, where you were able to play a bunch of back row and then have your monster that required, realistically, no effort to get to board, or you could even end up with 2 of these sometimes, which is what the deck strived for after Chakanine. You would try to end up with 2 Drydens. This card right here, I think, was the problem child, giving so many resources into the ability to take care of your opponent's monsters and cards during either player's turn. That's the problem right there for me. And on our number 1 position, most defining of all time, I don't think I've ever seen a card so hated for so long, Firewall. That's right, Firewall Dragon here. It's not a once per turn clause on summon, and it's quote-unquote plot armor from the ban list keeps it just so here. It already has 2 altar arts in the OCG, one being shown here, and Firewall just throughout the beginning of Link format and Code of the Duelist has found its way starting in degenerate FTKs to finding itself in viable strategies like Spirals to finding itself in almost every single deck that wants to summon like Gokis and has resources. It's such an insane card. It has the added bonus of adding materials besides just the summon effect from bouncing, quote-unquote, from grave or field, so you can take care of your opponent's problems as a quick effect, or add back resources to continue summoning. Firewall Dragon, it's a huge problem, but at the same time, it's here at 1, finds itself on the FNL list like a lot of these cards, and we'll wait to see the future of if its plot armor actually will save itself from future FNL lists. That being said, these are all my takes. Give me yours in the comment section down below. What am I missing here? Should I have put other cards on the list above certain others? Like, do you think Dante should be there over Beatrice? I think Beatrice is more defining, and it's what the deck ends up striving for. Even if Dante's effect goes off more times than the duel, you're really trying to get to Beatrice, I feel like. Or Ignace Tor versus Infinity. How do you feel about that one? Personally, I think Ignace Tor got summoned way more in that format. That's just my take on it. I do want to hear yours. I'm a tuber. I'm not the rule book. I definitely have my own personal bias towards these lists, but I do enjoy it. So give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation, even if you disagree with me, and then tell me your take on it. And also subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, everybody.